Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. So apparently I missed an article on Polygon where it's time for independent tabletop role-playing games to get loud, get proud, get their voices heard. All right. You know what? The dragon is wounded and it's time to throw yourselves into the breach. First off, the artwork they're using here is not a wounded dragon, it's a dragon sitting on its hoard, which is what right now WotC is fucking doing. Okay, the dragon is sitting on its hoard. D&D is still numero uno. It is still. I am not a D&D 5e fan. 2024 don't do shit for me. Yet it is still going to drive the numbers and drive the business. That's okay. That's to be expected. I happen to like OSR games. I happen to like independent games. Doesn't mean that that becomes the reality just because I happen to like it. They are not going to take the market. But let's see what Charlie Hall has to say over at Polygon. And by the way, wasn't Charlie an N-World columnist at some point? But he is now Polygon's tabletop editor. All right, well, more power to you. 10 plus years as a journalist and photographer. Okay. And he has covered simulation, strategy, and spacefaring games as well as public policy. But what is Charlie's, I don't know, validation for the RPGs? Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll see it here. Dungeons and Dragons has long been seen as the Kleenex of tabletop RPGs. Okay. A brand that looms so large that it seems to blot out the sun and steal attention from other similar games. It doesn't steal attention. It is the big elephant in the room of the hobby. It's not stealing attention. It is the attention. Okay. D&D is the known IP. It is the known trademark. It is what gets mentioned on the news. Hey, listen, I happen to love Swords of Wizardry. I happen to love old school role playing games. DCC is awesome. OSE, Shadow Dark, holy crap. Yes, Shadow Dark should have the market share that WotC has. It ain't going to happen if wishes were fishes. But the recent rules refresh has already produced the excellent Player's Handbook. All right, it's excellent. And the Dungeon Master's Guide, these are the 2024 versions, but the industry titan feels very much between phases, on the threshold of something new, but still not fully realized. Ooh. There are also troubling signs of decay, despite the clean precision of that spiffy new Player's Handbook. On a cool morning, when the wind is just right, Charlie, all due respect, man, go fuck yourself on this one. When the wind is just right, you can't help but smell the end shittification of the beloved role-playing game drifting in on the breeze as its many side projects seemingly wither on the vine. All right. We're going to skip the OGL fiasco because the OGL fiasco is certainly a fiasco. And laying off employees, Wizards has been doing that for the better part of a decade. It's always around Christmas time, so that doesn't really mean much more than it already does if they don't give a shit about their employees. But that's not all. Project Sigil, the highly anticipated Unreal Engine powered virtual tabletop, hasn't seen much in public since August, when it bugged out repeatedly on stage during a game run by Bria Inyangar. Later, the live event in London with a similar format, it wasn't shown at all. Now comes a new marketing push for a simpler, flatter, web-based solution called Maps. Maps has been around since, I don't know, last summer or so. It is the poor brother to real VTTs like Foundry and Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds and Owlbear Rodeo. This is WotC realizing that Project Sigil isn't coming as fast as it should, may not even It was a topic of discussion at Page. At Page 2, it certainly was. And there were a couple of us spitballing. Spitballing because we don't know. Those of us who have connections, people with better connections than me, aren't getting the news, which can mean, hey, we're close to release, or hey, we're close to mothballing it. I don't know. So, all right, I'll give Charlie credit for that. But then, all right, the revised monster manual arrives in February. But fans need to wait until summer for a new playable adventure set in Forgotten Realms. Well, listen, the adventures themselves have been fairly shitty of late. And the ones that Charlie mentions, Curse of Strahd, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Rime of the Frost Maiden, Descent into Avernus. These are probably the more recent, better ones, but we're not hearing about how you can be a barista, right? What, we don't want that to come back? Listen. They've told you, when I say they, WotC has told you, if you take them at their word, that the old material is compatible with the new material, so use your old shit. WotC essentially, to a large extent, was hyper-focused on getting the new rules out. Why are new rules important? Because they sell. And honestly, getting new material out to support it isn't as necessary or useful or as profitable as getting out the new rules. Why is that? Because what sells the most? The new release of the rules. So let the rules release. This is a marketing plan, okay? This isn't because WotC is back on it's on its back feet. It's getting slammed. That's not what's happening here. All right, and I am somebody who often will poke fun at WotC. Well, heck, we do This Week in WotC Stupid on the Wednesday night live streams fairly often. This isn't that. The VTT, certainly question it, but not putting out new adventures. Right? Why would you? They want to spread out those sales of the new books and get rid of the old stock. The old stock of the adventures that are already out and in print and in stores. They want to get those things sold. So, he does talk about Forgotten Realms, Player's Guide, Campaign Guide, 2 products that he expects to double down on what's become a staid, largely generic, vaguely medieval fantasy world. Yeah, that's called we're WotC. We're afraid to offend anybody, so we're not going to offend anybody, and then therefore we'll offend everybody, right? They are really going for that milk toast vanilla feel, but that is D&D. So if you're going to be an independent publisher, and then he talks about Mothership. Okay. Mothership and backer kit. But when you talk about certain numbers, I'm going to go over these numbers here that he talks about. They did a collab funding, kind of like a zine quest, but pushing stuff for Mothership month. Okay. It included 21 different teams, all making content inspired by the larger, previously successful Mothership brand. By the end of the month-long campaign, these designers collectively earned just over $1 million. Not a small amount of money. I wouldn't call it a princely sum, but a princely sum for a small game on a crowdfunding platform, but especially high number for a group of indie TTRPG designers. Now, back to come with some additional clarity that details just how successful this project was. Let's put something into perspective for you. BackerKit is not the leading crowdfunding platform. That would still be Kickstarter. BackerKit certainly is viable, but doesn't have a large history of data to rely upon. So, let's see. Not only were all the campaigns involved in the crowdfunding project successful, and that they earned enough money to be considered funding complete, but the funding drives were relatively lucrative. BackerKit said that nearly 1 in 5 creators ended up with their highest earning BackerKit campaign of all time. Are they including BackerKit campaigns that were actually Kickstarters to get to that number? Because I don't even know if there's enough data on BackerKit for all these creators. 1 in 5, well, it should be all of them, because I don't know how many of them had prior BackerKits. That number seems a little... Or is it 1 out of 5 that had prior... There we go. So, although there were... Again, I did statistics for the NYPD, and I know numbers are what they are. So, they said there were 21 different teams. But 1 in 5, this was the highest ever BackerKit, which means you would say, wow, that's a lot. It probably means, because again, BackerKit doesn't have a huge history, that there were 5 creators that had done previous BackerKits, and one of them, it was the best of all time. Because if it's your only one, that screws the numbers, because it's guaranteed to be a best of all time. All right. Getting a critical mass of fans to show up had add-on effects as well. BackerKit data shows 45% of backers who put money in pledged to more than one project. And 30% of backers contributed to more than 5 projects. Well, if you're a mothership fan, yeah, you're probably backing more than one, which is great. I'm not belittling this. I'm just saying the numbers aren't what the numbers claim to be. But Mothership Week was most successful in increasing awareness of the franchise. I have Mothership. I backed the Kickstarter. Looks fine. Looks awesome. Am I going to drop everything that I already play to play it? Probably not. No, I mean, not. It's it's not the genre that I enjoy playing, and that's something that they're not addressing here either. So let's go. The last piece of advice I can offer to indie TTRPG makers comes from my own experience working in media. Ask yourself, who is your audience, and what is your audience looking for? Where are they looking for it, and how can you best give them more of it? And what does success look like? Betting on the answers to those questions will likely make or break many smaller teams over the next years. The coming year represents a massive opportunity to get out ahead of what appears to be a fundamental transition in the landscape of the internet and search traffic. All right, fine, but it's going to be a strong year for WotC. The time to have done this, if you're an independent game maker, is before WotC launched 2024, not after. Even a bad launch of 2024 is worse than it's going to be much better than prior to the launch of 2024. When you switch editions, there's always that trough of sales. So, yeah, Charlie, I mean, good advice, but it's a little late. This article should have been a year ago. Would have been a bit more accurate. Overall, I feel it's imperative that indie designers realize that their window is rapidly closing. Well, technically that window's been closing since the release of 2024. Rather than sitting in their own little corners of the internet and wringing their hands, creators who want to thrive in the TTRPG space need to come together and fight for the recognition that they deserve. The dragon is knocked out for now. It is not knocked out. First he says it's wounded, then he says it's knocked out. It isn't. Oh. But it won't be at rest forever. Only by building out a solid party filled with individual contributors, each possessing powerful skills, can they hope to one day face that dragon, or at least earn a place in the lair beside them. Listen. A good game, properly marketed, with a little luck, can do very well. But you're not going to unseat the dragon. You're not going to be the next D&D. It could be the next Shadow Dark. It could be the next OSE. Go back a few years, maybe be the next Fate. But you're not going to unseat the champion. The best you can do is if the champion happens to start lifting the tide, that you go along with the lift. This article almost seems like it's wishing that WotC will do bad. I never wish that WotC would do bad. I wish WotC would do well, because that will make a bigger market and lift other creators. A shrinking WotC will certainly help certain publishers that are pre-positioned, but it's not going to help everybody else. It's not going to suddenly be we got to fill the void. But let me know what you think, folks, and realize that as I'm recording this, about an hour from now, we're going to have one of those independent game designers. Mark Hunt will be our guest on a very special Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse, Triple D. Because I was at Page over the weekend. Wasn't able to do our usual Friday night live stream, myself and Glenn Howson. So instead, we're giving you a special guest. Mark Hunt, BX Gangbusters. Watch the live or catch it on replay. All right, folks. On that note, catch you later.